It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Hello and welcome back to the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. Myself and the Golden Groom, Ronan Groome. 13 days, less than 2 weeks to the Cheltenham Festival, and this time 2 weeks time, we'll be celebrating the second champion chase victory for Ante-Post the King. Yeah or nay?
Nay.
One of the segments. Go ahead.
I think it could be Edwardstone this year, but. Yeah, we'll get on to that soon. And so,
absolutely. Of course, star ratings abolished between here and the Cheltenham Festival, Mr. Groome. Which I suppose we've seen a lot of the performances we need to see now. Obviously, Kelso's this weekend, but the star ratings has been abolished. A couple of interesting things. Going to take I suppose we're going to start with the big question, and we've taken lots of questions from the viewers that I suppose that we didn't get to over the last couple of weeks, and it's thrown up an interesting segment. And shall we get started? The big question is the first section of the show.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
The big question has thrown up this question, and we're going to start with Willie Mullins' favourites. For the Cheltenham Festival. 28 races, I do believe, Mr. Groome. He's 11 favourites. And, of course, plenty of other chances right throughout the week. We're on some. Darren Harper, good follower of the show. Of course, Harp's bar on YouTube has asked this question. How many of the Mullins favourites do you think are going to bomb out at the Cheltenham Festival? Interesting question, Mr. Groome. 11 favourites. And I thought probably the best way to do is actually start off with the horse and its current price. And I suppose we'll work our way down individually. We'll let you have a go at it first. Facile Vega, 11-4 for the Supreme. El Fabiolo, 11-8 with BOYLESPORTS for the Arkle. Tekau got absolutely hammered by the British handicapper today. We'll come to that. 4-1. Galler de Menil, 11-10 favourite for the National Hunt Chase. Energumen, 13-8 now. And some firms have them joint favourites, and Energumen a shade of odds on, or a shade of shades favoritism at 13-8. Dino Blue 7-1. It's for me 3-1. Lassie Mount 13-8. Gallop and the Champ 6-4 for the Gold Cup. Allegory de Verse 6-4 for the Mayor's Chase, and Spanish Harem 5-1 for the Martin Pipe. 11 favourites, Mr. Groome. What way do you see it going first and foremost? We'll start with Facile Vega. 11-4. Bet or lay at that price?
I probably wouldn't do either. I wouldn't touch him from a betting proposition. I think that's a shocking price. When you think that there could be something wrong with the horse, I think that's a live possibility after the run at Leopardstown. Maybe he went too fast that day, and maybe that was the case. He's just not that good. I think it's one or the other. Either something wrong, or he's just not as good as we thought he was. And you're just not getting enough compensation in the price of 11-4, 3-1 thereabouts for that prospect. Granted, the race looks soft enough, or doesn't look a vintage renewal, but I couldn't touch Facile Vega 3-1 off the back of the run at Leopardstown.
No, definitely not. I'd be with you on Facile Vega. I think Ilete Tomp, if anyone hasn't seen our video regarding the novices, I think he's maybe the horse that's been a little bit underestimated. I think the race could be run to suit him. I wouldn't be laying Facile Vega. At the same time, I wouldn't be backing him. And I'd probably find one each way. Probably Ilete Tomp on the day. El Fabiolo, 11-8. Back or lay at that price?
It'd be lay for me. I think he's going to have a lot more pressure on his jumping here. I think he's got a fair machine. Like, he's a fair engine that he can make a mistake and recover from it like he did at Leopardstown. But I think if he makes that sort of mistake here, they could just get away from him. John Bond's a brilliant jumper, if a bit to his right. Dysart Dynamo, for the most part, jumped well at Leopardstown for both of his runs. And see, just a mistake here late in the race could let him a little bit loose on front. And John Bond, they could just get away from him. It's obviously a shorter trip than it was Leopardstown. And granted, El Fabiola won really, really well and might just do the same thing here, but I'd be cautious of him there with the mistake he has in him.
And Tekau, all the rage, of course, for the Boodles. I think the British handicapper, I didn't exactly get a chance to look at all the weights on the first couple of days. I've obviously checked out my own, and we'll come to that later in the show. But he got a fair hike from the British handicapper. Was it £6 or £7 in total?
I'll tell you now. He's 135 in England, so I don't know what his initial rating was there. I guess he ran quite well, probably better than they'd hoped for the last day in the Grade 1. And that's just knocked a bit more onto his rating.
135 he got for the British handicapper, 11 stone 5. I wouldn't be backing him at 4-1. I wouldn't be.
I mean, it's not a race. I actually, of all the handicaps, I tend to kind of leave the Boodles alone. I might back something the night before, but now it's just it is. But that horse you put up, I think, is interesting. Biker, off the back of his win the last time.
Biker's rated 124 in Ireland. The British handicapper has added 4 on top. So, I think that's fair. He hasn't crucified him. Pat Doro in the County Hurl, another selection of mine, of course, has been given just £3 by the British handicapper. So absolutely delighted with that. He's going to carry less than 11 stone. But Biker, nicely weighted. And I think has every chance. Single figures now with BOYLESPORTS, 8-1.
Yeah.
Let's stay on track
as well, for sure.
Let's stay on track, Mr. Groome. So I couldn't back Tekau at that price. I'm happy to row in again on Biker at the moment and maybe find something else against him. At the same time, I wouldn't be laying 4-1, but I wouldn't be interested in backing him. Gaillard de Menil, 11-10. He's the first Mullins favourite at the meeting. That even though I've put up, chemical energy, looks like the ground. We're going to have nice ground at Cheltenham. The better the ground, the better the ground for him. And the better his chance. At the same time, will I be getting stuck in again on chemical energy? No, I've backed them at 9-1. That's fair enough. I wouldn't be. I'd be looking to keep on the right side of Gaillard de Menil, as in terms of I think he's the perfect profile for the race. It looks like he's going this route as well because there was lots of talk. Would he go to the Brown Advisory? No chance of that, I'd say. And he looks to have a good profile. I wouldn't be looking to massively take him on in the race. I think he's a very good chance. Energamine, 13-8. First of all, Gaillard de Menil, thoughts?
I'd say he's one of the more solid ones, to be honest. So I tend to agree with you there. I have backed, obviously, got Churchstone Warrior on the side. I think he's a nice profile for the race as well, but he does have the reverse form with Gaillard de Menil on their run at Christmas. So you kind of taking a chance that the extra 5 furlongs brings a bit of improvement for him. I think it will, but we know Gaillard de Menil stays that trip as well from his big run in the Irish Grand National. He's obviously got course form already. The Brown Advisory was probably a lot better race than what he'll face here, and he's probably a better horse as well. Like, he is pretty rock solid. Patrick will ride him, obviously, if he is declared. So if you're doing like a short price multi or something like that for the festival now, I know the value is seeped out of a lot of them, but he would seem one of the more solid ones out of the Mullins 11, as we call them.
Yeah, I've marked down 5 Mullins favourites that I won't be too keen to be taken on. I want to keep them on side, even though I've maybe horses backed at bigger prices in their respective races on the day. Gaillard de Menil, the first of those, short price favourites that I wouldn't be too keen to take on. And Energamine, obviously, look, the more he drifts, the more I'm interested in backing him. Again, keep on the right side of him, 13-8. The question is now, I suppose, the way the market is moving, will he go off favourite? I'd say he will. I'd say people aren't stupid. And I said I'll send him off favourite. You're against him. Like, I mean, if he was to go out to what price would you back him at? Because as you've always said to me, Mr. Groome, every horse has his price.
Absolutely, of course, yeah. Like, you need to know when you're talking down these horses. It's not like you'll never back them at any price. Like, there are some pundits out there that will not entertain backing a horse at any price, which is absolute rubbish. You're talking right out.
Are you referring to me, Mr. Groome, after It's For Me last week? Look, anyway, we'll come to him.
I wasn't. I've seen it before. Just people saying, "Oh, I wouldn't back him at 100-1." That is absolute bollocks. Like, every horse is a price. Like, Edward Stone or and Urgemeen is. I just think Edward Stone should be clear favourite on the run at in the Clarence House. And Urgemeen, look, yeah, like you'd back him at 5-2, 11-4, wouldn't you? Back him at 3-1. Anything like that, I just think he's short at the moment. That sort of price, I think Edward Stone should be, beat him the last day, beat him well. He's the Arco winner. He's up and coming. And I just have a bit of question marks about Urgemeen's form. Winning the race last season, we talked about that before.
Do you remember when Manchester United, Mr. Goodman, I know you're a big Arsenal fan. Do you remember when Manchester United were winning leagues under Fergie? And, there was an old saying we used to say, anytime you get United at evens or bigger at home, have what you want. It's anything over even money. Look, I'm not too interested in getting involved for the sake of this competition because, I don't think there's massive value in his price at the moment. But I will be backing him on.
Will you back him on the day?
I'll back if he's bigger. I mean, I'd probably have him at the moment. He's probably a little bit bigger than what he should be. I think. I think 6-4 is probably in around right. 13-8 at the moment for the sake of the competition. I won't be putting him up because I'm not going to get all that very much value. He was the team captain last year. He was 9-2, different story. But he's the second one of the Mullins favourites that I won't be keen to take on. And I'll be backing him. I won't be backing Gallup de Menil, mind you, because I'll just leave that race alone. But I won't be laying him either. Dino Blue, 7-1. She's the one that's come for support since the weights have been announced for the Grand Annual. She's another one I wouldn't be looking to, 7-1. Some people, in these bigger handicaps like to lay for places. I'd be definitely keeping on the right side of her. I think she's a good mare. She disappointed at Cheltenham last season. But I think her jumper's been good. And I think back to 2 miles, she definitely is an interesting one. Lots of people are raving about Andy Dufresne, went off favourite, same weight as last year. He's going to keep the weight down for her and others. So of the McManus, horses in that Grand Annual, I'd far rather back to Dino Blue for the Grand Annual than I would take out for the Boodles at 4-1. So would you disagree or agree?
I probably agree with you. I like her as well, to be honest. I'd give her a chance. I thought she was a bit of a price, bit kind of underrated even in the mare's race. Like she was 40-1 there for a while. Like she'd only beaten 3 lengths by Impervious. She was an each way kind of play there. But I could totally see that they'd like to go down the handicap route with her. They obviously think she's a real 2-miler. 2.5 miles might just stretch her a bit. Like she's only been beaten by Impervious and Magic Days, who's a real 2-mile specialist. And
that's not a disgrace whatsoever,
Absolutely not. No, she's got 140. Like that's grand. It seems workable. It seems fine. You would be concerned about the bomb out at Cheltenham last year, but she only went there off one run. It goes to show you that there must be a lot of belief in her. She went off 11-8 in Love Envoy's Mayor's Novice Hurdle last year. Like 11-8, there was 19 runners there. Like it was a fair show of confidence. So they must have a lot of belief in her. She was odds on against Impervious as well earlier in the season. So she clearly has a big reputation at home. Just hasn't lived up to it yet, but she's loads of scope obviously to reach that sort of potential, and a mark of 140 looks, I'm not surprised there's money for it today, to be honest, put it that way.
Download the BoyleSports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BoyleSports, this is betting.
The disgust on Ronan Groome's face when I told him to take out the headphones, they were starting to hurt my ears just a little bit. So I hope it's not too bad. He's back and he's raring to go. Mr. Groome, we're back to the bumper and I have to come to you. It's for me. We kind of discussed this last week. Look, I just think he's a very bad price. At 3-1, I would be absolutely delighted to find horses against him. And if he was 3-1 or anything like that on the day, I'd consider laying him for a place. There you go. He's back.
Apologies. Sir Willie's got about 50 million here to run. I don't know. Didn't the mayor run, like, not that I'm playing the race or anything, but didn't the mayor that won at Leopardstown, Fun, she looked pretty good there, the way she won that race. She pulled like a demon through the first part of the race and still won by like 8 lengths or something. And I'm not sure are they going to go to injury with her, but if she ran that price 7-1 or whatever she is, looks pretty big.
We have a question later on which horse will Danny Mullins ride in the bumper, so that's interesting. Just be stewing on that, Mr. Groome. That's to come. Next one, Lossy Mount, 13-8. It was on a preview last week in Bagnallstown. David Mullins and Jack Foley were on the panel, and so I was kind of sharing my views. I thought that, look, I'm obviously on Lossiemount for the sake of the competition. I'm on her at bigger prices, obviously, than what she is now. I think these will flip-flop. I think Blood Destiny will go off favourite for the Triumph Hurdle. All the vibes are pretty good about this horse. Willie's kept them apart. At the same time, I think it's between Willie's, I know you've put in Galamasaur, Ronan Groome, but I hate to break it to you, it's between the top two in the market. I think these two are quite, I think they're clear of Galamasaur, and I think she's probably clear of the rest. So I think it is, certainly Willie holds the aces in the Triumph. And I do think she's the fourth favourite. That, if she did go to, even though I think they will flip flop, I still think she's very, very good. And she could be coming back. I will be keeping her on side. It's not as if I'm going to go back Blood Destiny to win the Triumph Hurdle. I just am. I said it on last week's show. I am a little bit afraid of him. And I think he's very good. But she'd be one I'd be looking to keep on side. I wouldn't be looking to lay her or anything like that. I think it's between the top two. And I hope she's good enough. But I think he'll go off favourite. What's your thoughts?
No, I think you're very dismissive of Galamasaur. If she didn't get the interference at Leopardstown, you obviously clearly think she would have won. How long do you think she would have won by?
I think, in fairness to Galamasaur, she was very, very keen in the race. She was also very, very keen at Christmas. I don't think Lossiemount would have beat her by the same distance, but I do think she would have beaten her. And I think if she probably would have won, you're going to slap me for this, but I think it probably would have been cozy enough. I think the gap would have been closed. I think she had the effort she had to put in to finish where she did, considering what happened in the race. I thought it was it's obviously a worry. Did she have too hard a race? She's the fourth Mullins. For me, she's the fourth one that I wouldn't be looking to oppose from a punting perspective. Let's move on, Mr. Groome, because I know we were discussing Gold Cups on our championship races preview, and Galloping the Champ 6-4, good price or a chronic price?
I think it's like a fair price or something along those lines. I'd probably sit on the fence with this one, Basil. It's just what price does he get to that you'd back him at? And I don't know myself. It's a hard one. I think he's.
I'd contemplate backing him. I'd contemplate backing him at 11-4. I probably would back him at 3-1.
Yeah, I think I would as well. And that people would be screaming at thing, going, "Of course you would." It's not as hard as a thing because he's a general 6-4 shot.
He's the classiest. He's definitely, obviously, the classiest horse in the race. And class horses go and will Gold Cups. I mean, even at Plutard, lots of people said, is he a dour stayer? Obviously, he came back in his second Gold Cup and done what he done last year, which was, a super performance. You've him in the book. Look, at 6-4, I would lay him, actually, and I would back against him at that price.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd just leave him. You don't have to be as black and white like that sometimes. I think you just say the price is fair on the line. But
I think the one thing to say about that, but you have to look at the shape of the race, Ronan. This is not a soft Gold Cup. This is really not a soft Gold Cup. I mean, looking down through the list, like Statler, I think he's going to run an absolutely massive race. Look at obviously, Noble Yates. He's a horse that I think is, a massive chance if he's on the premises turning for home. He's the one I'd fear the most. You have Brave Man's Game. I mean, Paul Nichols is so bullish. He's starting to feed him Red Mills now, of course, Paul. That's a little secret he let out of the bag on at the races. He thinks his horses are in, he thinks this horse is his best chance in a Gold Cup since Cato Star. I'm not surprised at that statement. He's a different horse this year. Would I have him for a Gold Cup? No, but you have a King George winner in there, much improved. He's 8-1. And that's a big price. If you have a Betfair Chase winner who was a very impressive winner at 12-1. Okay, disappointed the last time. And you've horses even at bigger prices like Capadano, class horses, a Hoytson, you're a big fan. It's a very deep Gold Cup. 6-4 for me. I would lay you that, Ronan Groome. I'd lay you 2-1 if you wanted it here now in the show.
I kind of disagree with you. To be honest, I actually do. I don't think it's as deep as you're laying on. Anyway, Brave Man's Game has the same question mark over him whether he'll stay or not. Arguably more so. At Plutard, like, how many question marks do you want? Like, I know I got him on side, but that was on the premise that he might run at Christmas. I do think he still has a chance, but holding him up as a sign of strength of the race, there's a lot to be concerned about with him. Noble Yates, like God, I don't know. Like what he did the last day, and people seem to really positive about that. I wasn't as much. Like, he definitely needs to improve significantly. Statler has got 10 lengths to find with Caliban. Shishkin won't run. I'm just going down through the market here. Conflated, probably. Will he stay? Probably the same question mark over him and Caliban the Champ. Like, and where's the pace in this race if Ahoy Senor doesn't go forward?
You've definitely been listening to Tony Keenan, so.
What's Tony Keenan saying?
No, he was mentioning just on the Off the Fence show. I was having a listen just about the pace angle, and look, he may well be right. Ahoy Senor looks the obvious pace angle. Barry Geraghty was saying that, you know, there'll be plenty of horses that will want to make this, you know, plenty of people and horses that would, you know, would appreciate a strong gallop in here, and there might be one or two to make Ahoy Senor, you know, go. I think there's plenty of pace, and I think there's plenty in here that will like to be handy, not necessarily front runners, but I do think it will be a strongly run Gold Cup. I don't think you're going to have a repeat of, you know, what happened last year.
You need one or two up there with Ahoy Senor, I'd say, and I'm just looking down the list here and wondering who might go forward. But like if it was run like last year, I'd have absolutely, like, Caliban the Champ will run all over these. Like, if it was that sort of race. So
okay, so you're sitting on the fence. I'll give you 2-1 if you wanted. Let's move on. Allegory de Vassy, Ronan Groome. I've done a complete U-turn on this horse. I really have. Impervious. We were raving about her, you know, to beat Journey with Me as she did, but I just think you have to ask yourself the question, if you're backing Impervious against Allegory de Vassy, you have to ask yourself one question: where are your eyes? And I just think Allegory de Vassy is. I was probably clutching at straws, thinking that Scarlet and Dove for so long was going to have a chance of beating this mare. I think she's exceptional. When you see what Bride's Hill done last week, the form is looking rock solid. I would excuse her. Maybe the one worry I'd have with her, she did shift out to her right with her jumping on her most recent start. But you know, in terms of this particular race, I'm not sure if it's going to be as big an issue as you think. Impervious, look, she's done absolutely nothing wrong. Allegory de Vassy, I think, might just be in a different league to her. I think she's very, very good. She's massive scope over her fences. If they can just iron that out a little bit, she is clearly the horse with, in my view, the biggest engine in the race. I think she's. I'd happily back her. I'd happily back her at the price she is. And in fact, you know, she's 6-4. If you're looking at multiples, she's the 5th Mullins horse that I wouldn't be looking to oppose, and I probably would back her. Of the horses that I would back, the 2 Mullins horses that I would back right now, out of the 5, if you're looking at doubles, would be Allegory de Vassy and Energumin. So that would be, I just think she's the best horse in the Mare's Chase. And bar an accident, or bar she does something totally erratic in relation to her jumping, I think she'll win the Mare's Chase. What do you think?
I share your concern with the jumping to her right. She's only gone right-handed since she's joined Willie Mullins. She's won twice at Fairyhouse, once at Thurles and once at Limerick. And she makes that sort of mistake at Cheltenham that she did at the first defence the other day. Like, geez, how did Paul Tynan stay on? Like, it was a miracle sit, really. You know, like, it's a fascinating race tactically. Firstly, I think it's between the first 2. I actually can't see anything coming near them beyond, like, Jeremy's Flame is in there 5-1. Like, she's ran 17 times over fences. And still needs to
this
improve.
Race. Well, here's the question: if this race was ran 10 times, how many times would Allegory de Vassy beat Impervious? Because I agree with you. I think it is a match.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's 50-50. think.
Would it be?
The odds
Okay.
I just think it sets up brilliantly.
I think at odds of 6-4 though, Ronan Groome, she'd win more than 4 times, and I think there's juice in the price. I think she'd win probably 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I like Impervious a lot. I think she's got more solid form than Allegory Devassi. I think her beating Journey With Me, clocking a serious time in a grade 3 at Punchestown is the standout piece of form in the race. So
definitely is, and I think it's just sometimes, you have to just go with your instinct and go with maybe. I just think the potential with this mare. I think she's fabulous. Allegory Devassi. So there you go, Mr. Groome. That is the Mullins favourites. We left out Spanish Harlem. His jumping would want to improve now. I don't know what. I mean, he clogged a few hurdles. He looks to have for a long time. If he was 10-1, I'd be interested in him. At 5-1, no.
No, yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah, he is too. He has plenty to. I haven't even properly looked into that race yet, but that seems short price.
So there you go. Just to conclude, Galler de Manil and Ergami, Dino Blue, Lassie Mount, and Allegory Devassi. Don't be too keen to lay them, and don't be too keen to take them on. That's my views. Mr. Groome, slight different opinions. Ronan Groome, that was a long-winded answer to one question. We have a couple more to get through before we put up our selections. Next question comes from Carl Mount. Rob the Mongoose obviously talks about Marie's Rock for the stairs. I'll answer this one pretty quickly. He thinks, should they run her in the mares or the stairs? If she ran, he thinks she'd dot up in the stairs. I don't think she'd dot up, but I'd be very, very interested in her now. I think she's a massive chance. I think she's a better chance in the stairs than she does definitely in the mares. Mares is very competitive. Would you agree or disagree, Mr. Groome?
I agree.
Carl Mount, give us a shock 33-1 or 40-1 outsider each way for the festival, Mr. Groome. Shall I go first or do you want to?
You go first there, because the one I was thinking of probably not going to run in the race, so I have to just remember which other ones.
Okay, so I'm going to go for, if you're looking at big price horses, I think the obvious race to look at is the Coral Cup. It's a race that can throw up horses at big prices, and if you were looking at one, a couple at the front of the market, you'd want a lot to go your way. So looking further down the field in the Coral Cup was my way into this. I'd also look at the bumper. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a double figure price at the bumper. But the Coral Cup, the one I'm going to throw into the mix, Mr. Groome, is a horse that needs to improve. But I think he can, given connections, if that's a clue for you. Coral Cup, Martin Brazel, similar type of profile to a horse that finished second in the last year, went off 18-1 fast or slow. The horse is called An Epic Song. Has won twice on the race course. This is 7 runs over hurdles. Both its wins have come on heavy ground. So I'd imagine, Mr. Brazel will probably be doing the rain dance for this horse. Look, he's currently rated 137 by the British handicapper. That's the rise he's given this Epic Song. He's 33-1, carries 10 stone 8, and it's Ballymore Day, Mr. Groome. I don't think they have an obvious contender for the Ballymore. Connections will probably be there in their finery. And I think this horse just has a nice profile at a bigger price. And I'd give him a live chance in the Coral Cup. He won very well at Punchestown over 2.5 miles on heavy ground, which would suggest, that, there could be a lot more to come from him. He's only had 7 runs. So he's going to be nicely weighted. He'll carry under 11 stone. And I think for Martin Brazel, An Epic Song has an interesting profile at a bigger price. And I wouldn't say he'd be 33-1 on the day, would you? What's your answer to that? And
I backed that horse when he won a Punchestown and he was gambled on and he bolted up, and I've followed him since. And it's interesting that you suggested him, if that's what they have been doing, and he's been all along coming along for a race like this. So definitely interesting for sure. I don't quite have a 33-1 shot, so I do apologise.
Scrooge of the ratings, the Scrooge of the each way, 40-1, 50-1, 33-1 shots.
I have a general 14-16-1 shot for the Brown Advisory. Donny Murphy's Thunder Rock. I think he is a big improver up in trip. He's run 2 very nice races in behind the real whacker, who's a quarter of the price in the Dipper, and then he went on to be third to Jerry Colombe in the Silly Isles, but he's crying out for a step up and trip, and I think over 3 miles could bring out the best in him. I believe he goes here, Thunder Rock. So I give him a chance. He's around 14 to 1, I think. So
super. Top owner. I have absolutely no view on this, even though it is an interesting question, Mr. Groome. Do you want to say a name, or would you rather move on to Vicky's?
Oh God, I have no idea. Yeah, God, did they even price that? Did they price that up?
I don't know. I don't have a market for it as we speak at the moment. We'll come back to you on that one, Gainers, Stanton. One to certainly one that I'm sure will be spoke about nearer to the festival, along with the Pressbury Cup. We've already answered that one. I'm gone with, for the Pressbury Cup, Mr. Groome, I think I went with 12-16 to the Irish. What was your score?
I think I went one better, 17-11.
17-11. Who will Danny Mullins ride in the bumper? You'd have to imagine, I suppose, that Patrick will ride. You'd have to imagine that Patrick would want to ride the favourite. I think the best horse that Willie Mullins has in the bumpers, and I think he's a future Gold Cup horse, actually, Ronan Groome. But I don't think he's going to go. That's Ballyburn. I don't think Connections do want to go. I think he's very, very good. Loved what he done. Patrick probably will ride the favourite. If he doesn't, imagine Daryl Jacob would love a spin, or Paul Townend. And I do think that Danny could be left with something along the lines of Westport Cove. He was very, very keen early in the race at Fairyhouse in his bumper. I thought it was a massive performance. We reviewed that particular performance on the show. And I think it's the type of horse that you'd just be afraid he'd lose the head at Cheltenham, ridden in amongst horses, or, even if he was ridden cold. And I just think if they give him a forward ride in the bumper, he could run a big race under the hands of Danny Mullins. If he could just get him settled on the front end, let him do his thing. I think he's a horse with a bit of talent. So I think Danny Mullins looks tailor-made, in my view, to take the ride on Westport Cove. So there you go. That's the next question. And the last question, Mr. Groome, to throw into the mix comes from Danny on Twitter. Not Danny Mullins, by the way. He says, a serious question. What are Mr. Groome's top 5 Basil's Jerry Hannon impressions? Great question, that.
Do you know what? I've done a bit of prep for this, Danny, and I do have a top 5. Okay,
right, in order, and I'll have to give a bit of entertainment here now, Mr. Groome. So
I've actually wrote these down. So when I say them, you can repeat them, obviously, in your best Jerry impression. So number 5 is a mare we've talked about already just recently. Allegory de Vesey.
Allegory de Vesey is absolutely shot clear brandy love. Allegory de Vesey is going to go on and score.
Number 4 is when I was standing beside you at the Dublin Racing Festival last year, and Jerry absolutely lost his mind when Facile Vega and Patrick Mullins came there swinging.
Okay, swinging into the straight, it's Xander Clegane, followed into the straight by the big Doyen and Facile Vega on the still.
Yeah, he knows how to play up the crowd, doesn't he, well, Jerry? Number 3, this is an old favourite of yours. It's the man who's getting married soon. Your soon-to-be brother-in-law loves this horse. Old Mozzie.
In the November handicap, dropped the anchor in the centre, swinging into the straight, and my mate Mozzie's gone for home in the November handicap. My mate Mozzie hits the front on the run towards the last 150 yards. My mate Mozzie dropped the anchor on the near side.
Yes.
And the next one, Mr. Groome?
Number 2 in the list is probably an underrated one that no one else really actually likes, but Banbridge.
Mighty Potter make a good shape at that one. And then comes the Devil's Coachman and Banbridge. Could you imagine a race between Banbridge and If I Were a Rich Man?
He hasn't done it again. I think he was trying to rev up the Drinmore there, and he was.
Did you hear him at Naas? Did you hear him at Naas on Sunday? Barely stuck on the near side.
Yes, very good.
And what's their favourite then, Mr. Groome?
Easily, like this is miles. This is a furlong clear. Everything else is. I regularly actually send this to me in a voice clip, and the other time I go back and find it and listen to it because it's that funny. It has to be Impere Pass, shot clear at Naas. Half the heddle.
And they're racing towards the last 150 yards. This is a smart one. Impere Pass absolutely shot clear, and he's absolutely bolted up.
Oh, you missed the Hark the Herald bit.
I can't believe, by the way, we've heard that enough, but I cannot believe you've left out Hackadoo Tibert.
I don't actually like Hackadoo.
Swinging into the straight, Cool Cherry leads them into the straight with Jody Townend. On the outsides, Hackadoo Tibert and Jamie Codd. Right, it's time we move on, Mr. Groome. Next section of the show is a very quick portfolio review.
Download the BOYLESPORTS app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.
And Mr. Mark McCoy does good videos up on YouTube. We said we'd take Mark's portfolio this week. And of course, we're on to week 15. Anyone that has not put up their portfolio or updated their portfolio, make sure you're in the hat because Judgment Day is coming, Mr. Groome. Judgment Day is coming. This is episode 16. We've 4 more videos to get in. This Sunday, we'll have an extra episode out. That'll be episode number 17. We'll be back Monday or Tuesday next week with just a week to go to the Cheltenham Festival with episode 18. We'll do 19 on the Sunday night. That's an extra episode. And then we'll be back on the eve of Cheltenham, Ronan Groome, for the final episode, number 20. Here we go. If you haven't updated your portfolio, make sure you're in the hat for, of course, that's a Cheltenham Festival hamper to the value of €500, Mr. Groome. Mark McCoy, this is his portfolio. And going through the selections very, very quickly. Epatante 5-1. That's a live one. Will you get bigger than that on the day? I doubt it. So you might have got a bit of value there. Mark, Ronan Groome, you take the next one. Tell me something, girl. 10-1 for the Mayor's Chase.
I doubt you'll actually run, to be honest. You're disappointing again at Thurles, which is beaten by Brideshill. So I think that could be a miss.
Chapeau Salil, 8-1. That's a chronic price. Couldn't have that. Lossiemouth, 4-1 for the Triumph Hurdle. I've taken 7-2, Mark. I think 4-1 is good value on her. And, well, after week 4 there, Epatante and Lossiemouth, 2 live ones for sure. Flooring Porter, 5-1. The vibes are starting to become good, Mr. Groome. And we might have a certain Gavin Cromwell on the show this week.
Yeah, he runs. All being well, he's back on track. So probably not the best preparation from him this year, but he's definitely running. So he's alive again, and definitely has to be respected.
Gentleman's Game, 33-1 for the Brown Advisory. That's a avoid. Facile Vega, and Mark, I have to call you out on this one. At any point in time, Facile Vega at 5-4 was. It's easy to say it now, right? But that's a horrendous price. 5-4. Even at that stage, we were talking.
You need to specify that you said that at the time as well, or else you'll be.
Well, I did say it at the time. You can go back and watch.
I know you did.
I was even. I was absolutely. Yeah, well, I was absolutely flirting with Ballymore's at one stage. I couldn't have had that 5-4 Facile Vega at any point in time in the season. When he was 15-8, was he ever 15-8 this season? He was probably closer to 7-4 in the early part of the season. I'm not even sure if he was that price, but we definitely were not looking to get involved with those sort of prices. Don't know what was going through your head, Mr. Mark. Gallop in the Champs, 7-4 for the Gold Cup. Quite similar to Facile Vega. 7-4 was fairly skimpy, but obviously you could collect a less than 2 points there maybe for your efforts. The next one, Captain Morgs, 20-1 for the Potemps final. I'd give this a chance, Ronan Groome.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to suggest that I evaluate this completely because I'd need to brush up my knowledge of the handicaps on Captain Morgs. But he's gone for one in a handicap there, so good luck to him.
Shambally Kid was mentioned each way at the preview. I was for the Albert Bart. I was mentioned each way for the preview I done last Friday. And at 20-1, I think this horse has an each way squeak. You liked him as well. Paddy Hassett didn't.
Paddy Hassett, yeah, let's just rubbishing me for putting up a 20-1 shot. I've never heard anything like it, but yeah, I thought he did it well at Navan. Like, clearly he has a lot to improve in a very good race, I think. But yeah, I think he's possibly one. Like, can we just take a moment to appreciate Corbett's Cross at the weekend as well? What a run that was! That was. If we were doing ratings now,
sexual,
it'd be
Mr.
close to 5 stars now for me there if we were doing ratings. But
it would be a 5-star for me. That was incredible for him to come back and do that at 2 miles, winner at 3 miles on heavy ground. That horse, if he goes for the Albert Bartlett, and I'm not sure, it's probably up in the air now. He's such a good horse.
He's blue across the board for the Albert Bartlett, and just as we speak, like or today even, he has been backed. So. Like, if he shows up in the Albert Bartlett, like, clear favourite for sure.
And Mr. Groome, just to say, before ever he was even mentioned for Albert Bartlett's, he was a tracker horse of ours. And the tracker horse just keeps on delivering. We will come. I'll get a tracker horse off you after the spotlight. But Corbett's Cross, yeah, God, I would not be looking to get involved in taking him on. Would I back him at the current price? Probably. If I knew he was going for the race. I mean, he's now running no bet.
Yeah.
As you said, blue across the board. He'd interest me anyway, that's for sure. I haven't backed him, by the way. We did obviously put him up at a bigger price on the video last week, but I've missed the price, unfortunately, with Corbett's Cross. Ashdown Lad for the Potemps. We'll skip over that. Rouge Viv for the Grand Annual. I couldn't have it anyway. He's come way down the ratings. He's not want to be on my short list. Shishkin at 11-8 for the Ryanair. That's a question we kind of left out because there was a question in relation to Shishkin. Oh God, you're taking a lot on trust backing him at that sort of price anyway, are
you? Yeah, I guess the big worry is some sort of bounce factor. Yeah. But he's he's not going to be much bigger a price than that on the day, for sure.
No, it's probably not. You're probably right with that, but, once again, skimpy. Lord Accord, 20-1 for the Ultima. I like this. He's going to get in down the bottom of the weights. That's, I think that has a chance. In Stumptown, 5-1 for the Kim Muir. I give that a very big chance. So, some nice ones in there, Mark. Facile Vega, Gallop in the Champ. I know the markets have been squeezed, and, it's been spoke about many, but those ones at those sort of prices, Mr. Mark McCoy. Plenty of live ones, though. And I wish you the very best of luck for the Cheltenham Festival. Right, Mr. Groome, let's move on to the next section of the show very, very quickly. We're going to get a tracker horse in. And I've 2 to throw into the mix, so we'll come back and talk tracker horse.
Download the BOYLESPORTS app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.
Tracker horse, Mr. Groome. I'll rattle through mine very, very quickly. Quaid Enough is one who came right back down the ratings. Won at Ludlow off a mark of 120, bolted up by 10 lengths at Ludlow during the week. 20 on the 22nd of February. Look back at the race. Won with loads in hand. This horse ran some nice races as a novice. Quite lightly raced. Has only had 10 runs over hurdles. I think it could be well handicapped. It's been given £6 by the handicapper. I'd say it'll win again. Quaid Enough. Could be well handicapped. Over 2.5 miles, to 3 miles. I think Quaid Enough is a nice horse. And the other one to throw into the mix, I give it a live chance wherever it rocks up at the Cheltenham Festival, Mr. Groome. It's Iron Bridge. It's entries in the Ultima and entries in the Kim Muir. Now, I know John Joe's had good success in the past with the Kim Muir. Iron Bridge, 7-year-old. I've loved this horse from the start of the year and was absolutely full value for its win off 125 on Handicap Chase debut at Carlisle on good to soft ground over 2.5 miles. This horse wants a trip. It'll handle better conditions. He's been running them over shorter trips. Finished second as an eye catcher at Warwick on the 24th of February. Eye catching off 137. Unchanged mark. Hit the line like a rocket behind a horse I know you have a lot of time for, Galahad Quest. And I think Iron Bridge is certainly a horse I've on my radar for handicaps. The question is, which way will they go? But I think he's a very live player and something. Probably I'd prefer him to go to the Kim Muir. He'd probably have a nice enough weight in it. And I'd rather see them go that route than sneak into something like an Ultima where maybe his experience might be caught out a little bit. So I'd love to see him go for the Kim Muir. I'd give him a live chance in both, but Iron Bridge certainly one for the tracker. Anything in there?
Saturday, Colin Murphy's Cotaharla came clear with Lizer there. I think that was a good run. This is only a 5-year-old. He's not going to get into Cheltenham or anything. He's not rated highly enough. He bolted up at Naas. In January, I was there that day. He could have won by a lot further than 5.5 lengths. And I think he was well handicapped there, but he showed he's still well handicapped here. Off a mark of 122, Aidan Kelly riding him. And he just probably bumped into another well handicapped horse, and Barry Connell's horse there, Lizer. And he had coursing distance went to his name previously as well. So just bumped into one there, I think, Cotaharla, but definitely think there's more races to be won from him. He got £5 for it. But as I said, he's only a 5-year-old. He only has 5 starts over hurdles, so loads of scope to improve again. He'll probably make a good chaser next year as well.
Fantastic, Mr. Groome. It's time for that section of the show. It is, of course, the Ante-Post Selections, Week 16.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Mr. Groome said he wasn't putting in a handicap selection until the weights were revealed. Well, Mr. Groome, the floor is yours.
Yeah, and I still took a half a chance at one, to be honest, because he's not touch and go. I think he will get into the race, but he's right on the line. This Philip Hobbs is Cam Pront. He's in the Coral Cup. He got a mark of 138. He's done nothing all season. Really, he had 2 starts over fences, didn't go to plan, back over hurdles. He was 40-1 shot for the Lanzarote, brought down there, and you know, I'd say in my head, I think they've probably had this day in mind now to get him back here off the mark. As it happens, as transpires, he was 4th in the Coral Cup last season. He's going to run off a £2 lower mark now. When he was 4th to Commander and Fleet there, he travelled well into straight and probably just didn't see it out on the soft ground. It was a pretty testing that day when we were there. Then he went on to Punchestown and beat Faster Slow, 2 well handicapped horses. So he turned the form around with Faster Slow there, who finished ahead of him in the Coral Cup at Cheltenham. Two well handicapped horses came to the fore there. He got a mark of 147 for that. But he said he's all the way back down to 138 now. Back on a half decent surface, like good ground. I think they feel like he should have won the Coral Cup last season. If the ground was anyway decent, he would have won. So he gets a second bite at the cherry here, and as long as he gets in, 138 just would have got you in last year. Might have been touch and go, actually. There might have been a few in 138, but the senior's 138 runner, rated runner in the race last season, just got in. So bearing in mind, hoping that he does get in, I think he is definitely worth the play. So a double figure price. So Campron for me.
12-1 from 10-1. Anyone wants to avail of that, we'll pin it to the Twitter page once this video goes live, Mr. Groome. And Camprond, you old shrewdy, Mr. Groome. Caprond, definitely one for the shrews, but you are shrewd. Now, third handicap selection for myself this week, Mr. Groome. And I've gone, of course, to one of my favourite races at the Cheltenham Festival. It's the Grand Annual Chase. And this really is a double figure price. This is one that I've come down the list and I'm looking at the Grand Annual and I'm just thinking, this horse just stands out to me. Paul Nicholls, it's probably going to be his only runner in the race. It is his only runner in the race. The horse is called Tyne White. And quite lightly raced. He's only had 7 runs over fences. He's going to get in. Andy Dufresne, of course, is going to keep the weights down. And, you know, I think he's carrying 12 stone in here. He goes for the race again. That'll get Tyne White in off 11 stone 6. So he's going to have a nice weight. He's only had 7 runs over fences. And the key to this horse is he needs to be fresh. He won an Ascot first time up this season, going right-handed. In actual fact, when he jumps, he does shift out to his left. So I do think going left-handed is going to really suit him. He ran a cracker as a 5-year-old, Mr. Groome, in the county hurdle, where he finished mid-division as a 5-year-old, a weak individual at the time. Really strong traveller in his races, jumps very, very well, and was full value for the victory at Ascot on his first start on decent ground. So I think there's 2 things. He needs to be fresh. He jumps well, going left-handed, 3 things. And I do believe that he's going to get a strong pace in this particular, Grand Annual on decent ground is certainly going to help him. So he's a 7-year-old now. I think there's a lot more to come from him. Nichols has won this race 2 times in the last decade. So does like to target one here. So it's only runner in the race. He's 25 to 1, a standout with BOYLESPORTS. I just think it's a massive price. I think he's been overlooked. Disappointed on his most recent start. He backed up, I think it was after 28 days at Ascot in that £100. Of course, was a real valuable race. Obviously, Emmett sent over So Scottish, who would have very high on the list for the plate. Boot Hill was in that race, no mug. This horse has been, he's been beaten, but I just think he's been freshened up. This has been the target. And the handicapper has dropped him £2 for finishing 4th on that occasion. So there was good horses in there. He's already beaten the 3rd place in this particular race last season. The second horse, Ferrero Bamboo. I think he ticks so many boxes for this, and I think he's a massive player, 25 to 1, especially if it's decent ground. Could you entertain a bit of that? Say it again.
I said no, but sure, best of luck to you. I'm only joking. Yeah, no, I see.
You're talking about me being condescending, Mr. Groome. That is absolutely horrendous thing to say. Look, it's a race. It's a race I love, actually.
I'm jesting. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Look, I thought he was good at Ascot. I backed Ferrero Bamboo that day, and he beat him well. And I see your angle going fresh. Yeah, 25 to 1 is it's a pretty big price. Yeah, I have to say.
I thought it was. Yeah, absolutely. So that is that, Mr. Groome. That is episode number 16. We were going to throw a Yankee into the mix, but you know what? We'll leave it for Sunday's show. We'll throw a Festival Yankee into the mix on Sunday's show. That's been episode 16. We'll be back on Sunday with an extra show. 17, episode number 17. Make sure to update your portfolio, like the video, and make sure you're subscribed. You need to have your name in the hat, of course, for that, of course, a big, well, it's Judgment Day, Mr. Groome, and I think we'll let you judge it.
I think it'll be a joint effort.
Absolutely. We'll do that on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival, but that has been episode number 16. Have a great couple of days, Mr. Groome.
Will do.
Download the BOYLESPORTS app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.